Hey guys, I want to talk trade show. As a lot of you know, I'm a big proponent of Venue Trade Show. I think Miles and the whole team that's working there are really bringing something new to the table. It's interesting to kind of focus on very fresh up-and-coming brands, and I like the way that they're executing. And so in terms of trade show talk, there's a conversation I got into with a person who had a really bad experience with trade shows. When I was fashion editor of Prequel magazine, I remember every single trade show for ASR, Action Sports Retailer Show, we would have trouble getting into that show. We would not have trouble getting into Magic, per se, but we had problems getting press passes at ASR, and all of this is water on the bridge, but the girl who was in charge of press was a huge bitch to me and our crew. And we had, I mean, this was a print magazine, this was before web, so we had physical copies of the magazine. My name was on the masthead, and so you know, for that portion of time that I was the fashion editor of Prequel, it was a bad experience trying to get into the trade show where all we wanted to do was have coverage. In any case, everyone's going to have their own different horror stories of not just attending but showing at the show. And I got in conversation with a guy who had a failed clothing line, and they showed up to a specific show. I don't want to name the show, but apparently they got promised that the show would bring buyers, physically bring buyers into their booth to show them the line. And he was really hung up on this. I mean, in a way hinged the success of what his company was going to be on this point that basically the trade show lied to him to get him to show at their show. And I believe he showed 2 years in a row. I have commentary on trade shows that I've said before. I'm going to drop that link right now. That still stands true, so watch that. There's a couple things I want to say about this. Number one, trade shows are a business. So, of course, they want you to show. If you notice, when I'm pushing any kind of trade show, venue or whatever trade show it is, I'm going to say, if you're ready for that, then you should think of this opportunity. But what I want to stress is you being ready for the trade show. And there's a lot of ways to gauge that. Watch the rest of my videos on the YouTube channel if you don't know what that is. But you got to be ready to take on demand. Hopefully you have a following already, but you have to evaluate for yourself whether you're ready for the trade show at that point. Another thing is, that is pretty slimy. If the trade show promises to physically bring buyers to their shop and don't do it, you know, it's like any other thing in your life. It's someone not being true. It's someone giving like false advertisement. Now, whether they did or not, maybe they weren't there. I mean, I don't know. That's getting a little too specific. But here's what I have to say about that point is, if you're hanging your hopes on the actual trade show organization bringing potential buyers to you, that's a bad thing to bank on. That's a terrible thing to bank on. And B of that kind of statement is, I want to say, part two of that is, even if they bring, let's just say they do an amazing job and they bring 10 buyers over, there's nothing to say that that shop or that retailer is going to make a buy on your product. Any 10 of those. There's no one that can guarantee that. Someone at the phone at that shop might not even guarantee that. They might even say they like your line, but it's like on web, you might have, oh, I'm getting all these people viewing the website or viewing my shop, but the actual conversion to a buyer is such a small ratio. It's always going to be a smaller ratio, you guys, of course. But that is the number that is important. So even if, what I'm saying physically in the trade show is, even if you have 100 shops come look at your line over 3 days or 2 days or however long the trade show is, no one can guarantee that any one of those 100 shops are going to make a buy on your product. Obviously, buzz helps, marketing helps, and brand awareness, like, yo, these are the new kids on the block, or these kids are making some revolutionary design. Any of that is, and being on blogs or getting a lot of attention, whichever way that is really important. But the buy is what counts. For this company, this brand that doesn't exist anymore, it's foolish to hang your hopes on the promise of a trade show to bring buyers by. There is no plan. And so you got to do your due diligence in terms of getting retail over there. And so I have a couple notions where I've spoken on this before. I mean, find it in my YouTube. I talk about this. in length in different videos, but that's your responsibility. You know, you show when it's the right time for your company. And number two, no pun intended, they've created a venue for you to meet with multiple buyers in a small amount of time and show industry, whoever's there, what is going on and what you are bringing new to the market. And so with that opportunity, it is your responsibility, is your due diligence that is needed in order to make that experience worth the money that you've already invested into going into the show. A lot of these brands will show up and they've put all their energy into catalogs and getting the samples done, which is obviously the first thing you got to do. But there's a second part that they're not thinking about, which is all the money that's invested in this trade show. How can you maximize the amount of time that you've purchased to make a big enough impact, have people remember you, get some actual sales, get some signed POs, and get some product actually moving from the trade show. There's a whole nother train of thinking of how to make it an actual effective trade show. Not just show up, but make it effective. Just want to highlight that for this video. So if you are showing at Venue or any other trade show that goes on there, there's a lot of them. There's international trade shows where buyers and retailers meet the brand. If you're thinking about it or if you're doing it, there's always room for having another meeting at least where someone needs to be concentrating on how you, number one, gauge and make better the effectiveness of your presence at a trade show. Hope that helps. Comments, suggestions, videos, anything to add, you already know, drop it down below. Add me on Twitter and Instagram at John Phenom when you have the chance. Thank you guys for watching. I love you all. Peace.